Hello everyone, welcome to another session on SpringAI. So on today's class, what we will discuss is how to use like Ollama's embedding model, right? So in our previous class, what we did was we used when we are creating our local vector store, we were using OpenAI's embedding model, which is the text embedding 3 small, right? So the issue with this is it incurs some cost, right? So as it is provided from OpenAI, so although the cost is very minimal, but still it incurs some cost. Now, in order to like for our tab work, so ideally we want a situation where we don't need to incur any cost. So for that, what we can do is we can use Ollama's embedding model. So in our case, in this case today, we will be using all mini LM. Okay. So how to configure this is first we will just configure or like we will download and install Ollama, right? So once it is downloaded, right? So you can run it, you can open this Ollama. So it will automatically start in localhost 11434 server, right? Localhost server. This port it will open up. So once the Ollama is ready, so now we can do is we can go to this Ollama's embedding model, right? This one is the embedding model that we'll be using, and we can just copy this, right? And in our terminal, we can just like put it down, right? Ollama pull all mini LM. So it will basically we'll be fetching this embedding model into a local system. So once that is done, so our Ollama is configured and the embedding model is also downloaded, right? So once it is done, now first thing is for our dependency in POM, we'll be using this dependency, SpringAI Ollama. So this is for the to access Ollama APIs, right? And the second part is then we will go and we will use this settings, which is this Ollama embeddings option model, right? So all mini LM is the one that we are using. So we'll be using this. So here, if you see, previously we are using our Spring OpenAI embeddings. Now here we are using SpringAI Ollama embedding, right? So by default, our embedding model is this one, right? But we are also now using this all mini LM. So now we have two embedding models. So by and also you can see here we have put it as a hash. So because ideally it starts as default configuration is 11434. So even if we don't provide this, it will take it from this, right, host. So if we are changing this port while configuring our Ollama, then we need to provide it here. We need to change it here. So now let's go. Let's see how can we configure. Now if I go to this Ollama config file where we have put this configuration, so on the books or load of our Spring Boot application, we will configure this. So here we are calling this Ollama API. So from our dependency that we put in our POM file, then we'll be picking up the model from our application property, right? And then we'll be using this get Ollama embedding model. So this is the default. Like I've kept everything as default, nothing changed. Just to fetch our and create our bin, right? Ollama embedding model bin we have to create. So what we are using is Ollama embedding model builder and Ollama API through which we will be using this, and the default options. So in the default option, we need to provide the model. So this model is basically what we are picking up from the application property files. And then we have this observation registry. We are creating just the default one. Same with the model management options. We're keeping the default behavior, right? Next is now, if you can, now the thing is we have now two embedding models, right? So for Spring to identify, so we have to provide one as the primary model. So what we are doing is we are configuring our default config and providing OpenAI embedding model as our primary, right? So what happens is if I go to our controller, like we have used in our previous videos, so we have used other yeah. So in our previous video, what we have done is we have used local store only, right? So there what we did was it was taking by default OpenAI one, right? So if I go to our vector store config, here in our previous video, what we did was we configured our vector store, local vector store with OpenAI, right? So by default, because we had our only one model configured, embedding model. So it was picking up the OpenAI one as our default. So now, because we want a primary one, so we are keeping this OpenAI as a primary one. And now if I go here, so we don't need to provide any qualifier because Spring automatically will detect the primary. And we are creating this. Now we have two bins. One is for local store with Ollama embedding, and the one is the OpenAI embedding, right? So here for the Ollama embedding, we are using the qualifier as Ollama embedding model, which we have configured here, right? We have created the bin here. So yeah, so now we have two here. Now if I go to our previous, in our document fetcher, which we discussed in our last class, the only change you have to do is we have to provide the qualifier here, right? So now if I have to use Ollama, I'll be providing this Ollama embedding. If I have to use OpenAI, then I'll just put locals to OpenAI embedding. So that should be my only change here, and we are good to go, right? So I've already started my server here, so we can just quickly go and see, right, what happens. So if I go to my index, right, and so it is already indexed, but then again I'll do it. Yeah, once it is indexed is done. So now if I see here, so I've got my result. Now here if you see, the results are like sci-fi. The first one is sci-fi, second one is also sci-fi, third one is action, right? So the match is like, because we have given, like in our previous video we have seen how for OpenAI, when we're getting the genre as cartoon, it was fetching the result of animation genre mostly, right? So all two of them were animation, and the last one was of Batman, which was an action. So here also it is Batman action, but the first two are more coming up as sci-fi. So which is not exactly proper result that we are getting. So it is, so here you can see the disadvantage. So because we are using a local one, so it is not giving us proper result, right? The relevant documents we are not able to fetch it. So what we will try is, maybe in the next session, next class, we will try to optimize this. Like here, we are using this all mini LM. So here the dimension is by default, I think it takes 300. I think the dimension let this less here. Like instead of, we can see here the parameter. Yeah, here the context length is 256. I think it's not mentioned over here. I think the dimension is less, somewhere around 300. But for OpenAI, our dimension was 512. So we will just try to experiment with optimizing it better, right? So if we can optimize with this. So yeah, we can see the demerit of using this Ollama. So the when we're using this embedding, so the results are not coming as good as we got when we're using text our OpenAI embedding, right? So yeah, so the pro of our like the pro of using this is we don't have to incur any cost while using Ollama's one. But the demerit is we'll be getting not so good result, right, compared to OpenAI's model. We'll try to minimize that. We'll see how we can do better on this front. Yeah, thank you for watching. We'll meet in the next video.